Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Saturday. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. So today is Saturday, December 20th. We are headed into the last week before Christmas and I am going to show you one more fast and easy Christmas card design. So I've already got two others that we will come back and talk about. I'm going to make this one here along with you. And if you saw a Facebook post recently, you may have seen that I sent out Christmas cards to everybody who placed an order through my store this past year. Everyone who ordered in 2025 was mailed a card. And I used two different designs for that. One of those designs I'm going to do a tutorial with you in early 2026, probably in January. The other one I'm showing you here today. This is not only fast and easy, but it's a great one that you can just take the layout and then apply it with whatever products you have. So let's talk about what I'm using. First of all, and this is take 4 of today's video because there have been all kinds of difficulties today. So I'm going to be switching back and forth between a partially completed card, but I'm going to show you all the steps on this one. So this piece, this is going to be our base, so just so I can show you, this piece is a thick piece of white cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5 inches, scored and folded at 4.25 inches. That's our base. Then I have a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock that is 4 inches by 5.25 inches. A basic white piece that is 3.75 inches by 5. Then I have my piece of designer series paper, and this piece is 3.5 inches across by 4.75 inches high. This is the piece I started with, and that is what determined the other colors that I'm going to be using, the white, the cobbler, and we'll see what else we use. Okay, let me mention that I also have a couple of die cuts ready to go. You could do whatever shape you want in whatever colors. I used the cherry cobbler and a little piece of white, and this is the Nested Essentials set of dies. So not the largest of this banner shape, but the second one down and the third one down is what I used. All right, and then the paper itself is coming from Elegant Pine Snowflakes. This is 12 by 12 paper. It's one that I bought early in the season, but then moved on and used, Traditions of Christmas quite a bit this season. That was this one, which you've seen many times. So I came back to that Elegant Pine Snowflakes for this card, and this is the step that I want to show you before we move on. You're going to take your designer series paper and we're actually going to make a cut so that we chop it into 2 pieces. So what I'm going to do is lay this in my trimmer with the 3.5 inch side at the top. And I'm going to cut it in half, which is 1.75 inches, to give us 2 pieces now that are 1.75 inches by 4.75 inches. All right, so that was started out like that and then cut it. Okay, this piece, these pieces are going to get attached here to this white piece. Now I want a gap in the middle of the 2 pieces of paper. So as you see, when I put this on, I'm going to slide this piece way over to the left, just leaving a tiny white edge. And then I'm trying to get my top and bottom about the same as each other. This is narrower. And then this piece is going to come way over here by the right edge because I want this gap. Now you'll see one of the other cards that I'm going to show you at the end, the gap is much smaller, and so you can do that. You can push them in if you want. But my goal for this one is to have that white gap in the middle. And it's kind of neat because you can see that the paper was whole. Did I turn it? Wait. Did I turn my paper? There we go. And then split apart. So that's what we're going for. All right, so pushed out to the right side. And needs to come down a little bit. And then a larger border at the top and the bottom. All right, so there's our pieces. Okay, this can now get attached to that cherry cobbler piece. And then we're going to stop. We don't want to mount this onto the cardstock base quite yet. So if you are crafting along with me, don't glue this onto your card base yet. This is the point where you're going to wrap your trim or your ribbon. We're going to use linen thread. You're going to wrap this all the way around this piece before we, let me get that card base, before we attach it to the card base. Okay, so in this instance, I'm going to use linen thread. You're going to need, let's see, you're going to need about 32 inches to do this technique that I'm going to show you. So I take my linen thread, leave a little tail hanging off to the left, then I hold it onto my card front and wrap across the front once, across the front twice, and across the front 3 times. Continue around, and then I'm going to cut it here so that I have 2 tails that I can then tie into my bow. All right, so that is going to get tied like that. And this is, as I said in the beginning, why I'm not completely doing it, because I have a version that I started before my recording stopped, and we're going to jump back into where that one was. All right, so there it is, wrapped around, ready to go. You can tie a knot or a bow here, and then at that point this can get the adhesive and attached to the card front. So let's pick it up from there. All right, so at this point, I did the wrapping, I added some adhesive to the back, and it is now pressed down onto my card base. All right, so I'm going to trim this tail just a bit, and now we're going to add our words. Now, depending on what you want to say on the front of your card is going to determine the size of this. I wanted this one to be small, and I have a small little sentiment stamp here. This is actually from a recent paper pumpkin kit, and that's what I chose to go here. So I needed a small white tag. You might need a larger one if you're using a larger sentiment. This can get glued down to my cherry cobbler piece here, and I just used the regular liquid glue for that. Then we'll take our dimensionals and pop this up. So let's turn this over. These dimensionals don't look like the ones that you've seen. These were left over from a paper pumpkin box, so I'm just using them up. Normally a sheet of dimensionals is much bigger than this, but I often have pieces and parts left over after completing my paper pumpkin for the month, and then you have extra things that you can use on another project. Okay, let's peel the backings of those off. These go straight into my wastebasket. And then we'll attach this. This one is just going to stick to me. There we go. We'll attach this tucked kind of right up under my bow, like so. I'm really liking how this one turned out. I'm going to show you the other two, but this one might be my favorite. Okay, we could add some embellishments. I'm trying to think what I want to add on this. I think I have something in mind. So I'm going to grab my bin of all my embellishments. pull that in here for you to see. I'm just going to dig through these. I have something in mind already. I'm looking for something that's kind of white and sparkly. And as I'm thumbing through here, I'm seeing some other things that might work too, but I had my mind kind of set on one look. Okay, I'm gonna go with this. These are called adhesive backed sparkle gems, and I like the white glittery ones that are in here. I was either looking for a white glittery sequin or a gem, and these are going to be perfect. All right, so just a couple of these to give it some pizzazz. Let's see here. All right, so I've got my 3 kind of trailing down the card like so. And I think that that is just right. Of course, if I decide to, I'll still stamp something inside the card. I haven't quite decided if I'm gonna, or what I'm gonna put in there, so we're gonna leave that for now. Let's bring in the other 2 and we'll just talk about the differences. All right, this one has designer series paper from this same packet. All right, from the Elegant Pines Snowflakes. And you can see that the gap here in the middle is a little bit smaller, but still looks very nice. I've chosen shaded spruce for this one. And here, instead of using a double layered tag, I just did one larger tag and did heat embossing with white embossing powder. This twine is kind of that cherry cobbler color. And so we have that design. And then this one using the Traditions of Christmas paper, which we also talked about, and this beautiful gold ribbon is what I wrapped around it. Only once, but just wrap around once, tie the knot, and then you can see I used the same words, but a different shaped little sentiment tag here. So no matter which designer series paper and colors you choose, I'm sure that you're going to come up with a really beautiful look with this card design. I really appreciate you watching today's tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure and reach out to me. You can do that in the box below this video, or you can reach me through my email or even through a Facebook message, whatever you prefer. And in case we don't connect again before Christmas, I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas, and I am going to see you back here very soon. Thanks for watching.